Broadcasting from the Allen B. Levan NSU Broward Center of Innovation at Nova Southeastern University. Welcome to Sunshine Startups Live, featuring rockstar entrepreneurs, bright ideas, and experts on the startup ecosystem. And now your hosts of Sunshine Startups Live, Jim Ryan and John Wensveen.
Hi, and welcome again to Sunshine Startups Live. I'm investor, entrepreneur, and startup enthusiast Jim Ryan, joined by my friend, colleague here at the Levan Center, John Wensveen. The doctor is in. I love saying that. That's my new catchphrase for you, John.
Sounds like WKRP in Cincinnati. Remember the doctor? Remember?
The doctor,
Yeah.
Dr. John.
Johnny.
Right?
Yeah, Doctor, what was it? Fever. Johnny Fever.
Johnny Fever, that's right.
Well, it's good to be with you, my friend. John Wensveen, the Chief Innovation Officer here at Nova Southeastern University and Executive Director of the Levan Center of Innovation, also known as the world's first theme park for entrepreneurs. Exciting guest in the house with us today. We're going to talk a little football. Man, can this guy hit a golf ball? I'll tell you a little about that, among other things. But turn it over to you, Jim, for the introduction, and can't wait to get underway with this discussion.
Yeah, and we talk about entrepreneurship here, those that foster the ecosystem, successful business executives. Our guest today, Akin, he's amazing because he's talked about his entrepreneurship background. He's currently area president for Gallagher Insurance, motivational speaker, and John alluded as well to his football career, maybe a little bit of his golf career as well, but mostly his football career, playing on multiple teams locally here on the Miami Dolphins. I'm not a Cowboys fan, so we won't talk too much about the Dallas Cowboys, but we will talk about his experiences in football and his incredible career, talking about entrepreneurship and in being a motivational speaker as well. And Akin, thank you so much for taking the time out of your incredible background portfolio of what you're doing today and talking about yourself and entrepreneurship. I want to wind the clock back a little bit because I want to certainly, as a football fan, I want to dive into your football career, but I want to wind the clock back a little bit about you growing up and what brought you to Florida, maybe family and what have you. So talk about a little bit about your early bio days, if you can.
Yeah, Jim, J&J, that's what I'm going to call you.
J. I like that.
Yeah. No, thanks for having me. I know John and I have talked about getting together and having this session, I like to call therapy session, right? Because you really get into if you allow yourself, you get in deep to the why, and that's really part of it. It's the why and why are we here today? My background, I would say probably similar to a lot of people. I'm messed up in the head.
This really is going to be a therapy session.
It's easy, right? Who really wants to play football, and go hit time after time, hit your head into a wall, and then doing it, as a career. But it's where it all started. Naturally, I would say thanks to my mom, I have some athletic ability. I'm actually the least athletic in my family because both my brothers and my sister were way more of an athlete. I mean, could pick up a ball, a bat, anything that just required hand-eye coordination, and instantly they just got it. I had to work at it every single day. But long story short, I'm the oldest of four. Didn't grow up with a dad. Mom raised 4 kids by herself, and felt that it was a need for me to step up, early on and just be the man of the house, just do things and allow mom to focus on providing and taking care of us. And so at the age of 9, I started my entrepreneurial journey, right? And that was
early days here.
Early days, because the one thing I didn't want mom to do was worry about me, and didn't want her to have to, give me money for school, or even worry about, back to school, shopping. And so in that sense, I said, okay, I got to figure this out. And so a buddy and I decided to go to the candy store, buy candy, take it to school, and then flip it, right, for a profit. And so from that moment on, I somewhat had my own little gig. I went from that to then, cutting grass early back in our day. Right? I would say I'm old enough to say that had a little paper route I did for a while and did all that all the way through middle school. I got to high school. The candy and the donuts thing became my stealth, right? All my teammates, my friends knew at second period, Akin had donut holes and some candy to sell. And so in between classes, I did it, but I did it until my senior year. I've done this for almost 3.5 years. Teachers knew about it. Coaches knew about it. And I would say a couple of the principals knew about it. And one day, Miss Mullen.
I remember the name. It's usually not a good thing.
Miss Mullen caught me coming. It was second period, right between second period. I'd go right across the street, get my donut holes, bring it back, take it to the second period class. And she caught me walking back and I was like, Akin, what are you doing? I said, well, what do you mean, what am I doing? Same thing I've done for the last 3 years. And she says, well, you know you can't leave campus. Come to my office, writes me up. And in Texas, at the time in the 90s, you had an option. You can either take detention or you can get SWATs.
Yeah, you went for the SWATs.
Oh, I went for the SWATs.
That's why I became a football player.
Right? But, it all came down to I would rather take the quick capital punishment and then have to sit in detention. But when I got to high school, going from transition from middle school to high school, I knew that education was the key. Mind you, I'm dyslexic. I have ADHD, but I knew education was the key for me. And, mom couldn't afford to send me off to college, couldn't pay for it. I had to figure this out. And so I read a Sports Illustrated article that talked about high school seniors got scholarships to play Division I football. It paid for tuition, housing, and most importantly, food. And I said, that's it. That's my ticket to college. And before that, I had never played football. Played soccer, ran track, baseball, did basketball, did everything else but football. And so I just said, okay, I'm going to figure this football thing out. I had a nickname going into freshman year doing camp at the time. Back then, we had 3-a-days. As you know, Texas summer are not light. And they called me Stonehenge because I couldn't catch a cold. It was just so bad. But you know what? It's the grit, it's the mindset, it's the vision of your destination. And I stuck with it. And by the time season started around, I was on the freshman A team. By 4 games into my freshman year, I was the starter on both ways on the freshman A team. And then, my sophomore year, all of a sudden, I was on varsity. Within 3 games into my sophomore year, I was a starting tight end on varsity. And it just took off from there. And for me, it was a simple formula, input, output. What I put in, I got out of the game. And for sports, essentially that's how it has always worked. As I understood the importance of just working, putting in the time, sacrificing everything else and removing the distractions and just putting the time, and everything else pays for itself. And it has allowed me to do and perform at a high level. It's allowed me to obviously play at the top and be at the top of the spear when it comes to professional leagues. Being able to get drafted, by the Jacksonville Jaguars, and then going home.
Was that your first team that you got drafted by?
Yeah, 2002. I sat there in the hotel room watching all these guys, go ahead of me, and I was projected to go between the second and the 5th round. And I remember sitting there and looking at names like, okay, taking my hit list, like, okay, I'm going to play. Every time I play this guy, I'll make sure I play extra hard, or, there's no way I'm better than this guy. And I remember seeing a 904 number come through my cell phone, picking it up, and it was Tom Coughlin, and said, how would you like to be a Jaguar? And I said, of course, and thanked him for the opportunity. And because I was a hybrid player, in college, by the way, I went to Purdue University, played with Drew Brees, who we all know, future Hall of Famer.
He did okay.
Exactly. He did okay. And he Same formula for him. You know, he's not a big kid. He's not a tall quarterback. Didn't have the greatest arm, but he worked his butt off every single day. And we had that culture at school at Purdue that we knew we were always the underdog going into a battle, and we were always there to prove ourselves. So Drew and myself, we all had a chip on our shoulders. So in college, Drew was offensive captain. I was a defensive captain. I played linebacker. I played defensive end. I played tight end. Where do you need me, coach? I'll make it happen. And I did that. And then when I got drafted, team still wasn't sure. Was I really a tight end? I mean, not tight end. Was I really a linebacker, or was I really a defensive end that had speed and it could run? Tom Coughlin decided that I was a linebacker, and that's what he was going to make me. And I thanked him for the opportunity, because for me, that's all I need. I just need a seat at the table. Just give me that opportunity. And give you this quick story. My first game of my rookie year, so I go into that game. Steve Zabo was the linebackers coach, and he says, "Look, rookie, you're going to play some this game. Just stand right by me. You're going to play a lot of special teams. I'll throw in there when I think you're ready, or when the time's right. But just hang in there." Played all the special teams that they had me on. I'm just standing there. "You ready, coach? You ready, coach? Because I'm ready." "You ready, coach? I'm ready." And we go the entire game playing against Peyton Manning and Indianapolis Colts. Then maybe saw 2 downs that entire game. So I'm a little down. I got prepared. I studied. I was ready to go, and only got 2 plays. We lost the game. We go into that week, and he's like, "Listen, I got you. Just next game, we're playing Kansas City, in Kansas City. Priest Holmes, Trent Green, I can't remember the receivers, but they had a very high potent offense. And Dante Hall, had a very high potent offense. And I get you in this game. Tony Gonzalez, just stand right by me. You're going to play all the special teams." National anthem goes, we sing it. I'm crying second game of my rookie year. Tom Coughlin comes right behind me, slaps my butt, says, "Get there, rookie. Get in the game. You're starting." I go from not playing, all of a sudden, thrown in the game, and the game plan on defense was to go cover one. And for me, as my responsibility as a will linebacker, was to cover Hall of Famer Tony Gonzalez in the first game that I actually played.
Welcome to the NFL.
Welcome to the NFL. That was it, And from that standpoint on, you have to understand, you have to be ready no matter what the wind throws at you. You don't know when your time is being called. You don't know what, your team or your coach or just the scenario, the moment's going to ask you to do. But having that preparation, that work already done behind the scenes matters most. And so from that point on, I just, things just kind of worked itself out. I was blessed to play close to a decade in the National Football League. Played for the Jaguars, and then I transitioned and had a moment there where my free agent year, I was either going to go back to the Jaguars, go play for the 49ers, the Titans, or the Dolphins. At the 11th hour before free agency, I get a call from Bill Parcells, Hall of Famer Bill Parcells. Says, "Listen, I know you have offers, but I just need you to listen to my proposition. It's like, come to Dallas, let's talk, and just from that point on, you do whatever you want." Call my agent. Bill Parcells just called me. First of all, how do you get my cell number? How do you get my cell number? It's like, I don't know. And so we pause, we hold on all the offers. They fly me to Dallas, and I meet, I knew Jerry, I knew of Jerry. I grew up in Irving, Texas, so I knew the Cowboys. I went to games, I volunteered at games. So obviously it was a dream come true just to be at the time, the Valley Ranch, and walk through. And Jerry, I sit down with Jerry, and he's showing me all the rings and has the trophies, and we're talking. And he's a business guy at heart, and he's telling me about these deals, and he's telling me, if you ever have an opportunity, run it by me. I'll help you vet it. I'll help you do some discovery and, tell you if it's a good idea or not.
When you say an opportunity, you're talking about a business opportunity. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. What a great
that's,
offer.
That's the type of owner he is. He really does care for your success beyond the field. And the last person I sat with was Bill Parcells. And Bill, we sit there, and in a moment where I thought it was more of a coach to player, I was expecting a coach to player conversation. It was more of a mentor, father, someone who cared. The football aspect was a given, but he asked about family. He wanted to know what I was doing with my money and what my game plan was, and how I was investing. He wanted to know about my siblings, my mom, and which I knew he already probably had this down, and someone had wrote it. He, all that about me, and but the fact that he took time to learn from my perspective what I cared about, and then we dove right in. He's like, "Listen, you're the missing piece to my defense." Me. You have first-round draft pick Terrence Newman. You have first-round draft pick Greg Ellis. You have first-round draft pick DeMarcus Ware. You have first-round draft. I mean, I'm going down the list, and I'm like, I was a third-round draft pick, and 4 or 5 years into my career, he's like, yeah, I'm a 3-4 guy. I had never played 3-4 before. I was a 4-3 guy. He's like, you're a 4-3 guy that I think you have success in a 3-4. We go through all the schemes, and it's like, but you're the missing piece, and I want you to come to Dallas. Sold me in that moment. Sold me in that moment. What a great salesman, right? Sold me in that moment.
He's known for that.
Yeah. And long story short, played 3 years in Dallas. He retires. I play under Wade Phillips. Bill takes the head of football operations for Miami. Draft day comes, his first draft day, and then trades for me to come down to Miami. That was the relationship. That was the belief that he had in me. To have someone that's there to mentor and guide you, but to also see something in you that you didn't see in yourself. Bill was that guy. And so, I owe part of the latter half to my career because of that relationship. And I can keep going, but I'm sure you probably have more questions because I got a ton of stories.
Well, John and I are actually totally fascinated.
Yeah, totally. Because you took me off my own mental script. So your pathway to professional athlete is not really the traditional way of going. And incidentally, we do have a Purdue connection. So I was the head of aviation at Purdue University.
Yes.
And when I got there, they always talked about the Drew Brees days. And we didn't know each other at the time, but Drew Brees was a frequent visitor and come in and out all the time, but has never been the same. Like, you were the last of the legends. They're still suffering. But good luck to my friends up in West Lafayette, Indiana. So your pathway is interesting because it's not like a Tiger Woods story where you're born to be a golfer, right? It was your livelihood, your way to survive and thrive, which you've done. The day that you got the call for the Jaguars, was it like, oh my God, I've made it, this is incredible? Or, oh my goodness, this is my ticket to allow me to do what I want to do with my life? Because I know people live their entire life for that call and will never get it, the majority of people. And then you've been successful through that career when a lot of people don't necessarily know what to do with their money and what, for various reasons. And you've been able to carry on with a successful career, which we're sort of going to get into. But I'm just curious about, what was that feeling like? Because if that was your dream or wasn't your dream, it was your way to survive.
It wasn't necessarily my dream to make it to the NFL. It was my dream to survive and take care of my family. My why was the most important thing. Out of everything I've ever done, I've had a why. And at the time, my why now is my family. Like, I have a wife, I have 2 daughters, and that's the thing that gets me up every single day and allows me to sacrifice the other distractions. But at the time, it was, wow, I get to take care of my family. I get to get us out of the rut, out of that situation. I get to buy my mom a house that she can be comfortable in and be proud of, and get her a car that was dependable. I get to take care of my sister, that she would not have to depend at the time on someone else or be influenced by other distractions that a young girl, teenager, would be distracted because she didn't have the means to. So what I did was I had this vision. I moved in my youngest brother at the time, who was 11 years old. So he moved in with me. to Jacksonville, and I took care of him. My other brother was going off to college, so I made sure he had a car, made sure he had an account that I, gave him a stipend every month to. And my sister and my mom, it was just them two. And so for them to have a house that was dependable, a car that was dependable, and she was working and had a job that could at least cover some of the bills, and I would supplement areas where I could cover. To me, that was it. And what gave me the drive and what allowed me to, I was this guy who had played different positions, and I was always a starter. So from the time of my my days of starting to play football, but it wasn't because I was just athletic. I didn't wow anyone. I wasn't the fastest, the strongest, or the smartest. It was just my tenacity to not give up. There were days, the hot days of South Florida where I'm running, I'm sweating, I'm tired, and you see others next to you and they're just about to quit, and you're like, no. You can't. You got people to take care of. You have to prove yourself. And I always felt that I always had to prove myself, because there were moments when they said, "Yeah, Akin, you're not strong, you're not fast, you make the plays, but we're still not sure. I'm still not sure about you, or we're going to pay this guy a lot more money, and while he's not equivalent to you, but he just has this flair about him, or he has this flash about him, or he's faster than you, but and then all of a sudden." You're not in a survival mode, but you're in a I'm gonna prove you wrong mode, and that's been the thing that I would say that I've carried most through my different iterations, right? How I've evolved, whether it's sports, whether it's business. I retired from football, after year 10, went to grad school, right, and had. At the time, I still wasn't sure what that transition was going to be. Mm-hmm. And so I knew that I had to do something. And in between grad school, I would go up to New York, and I interned for a wealth management company. And I did that because I was trying to, again, I had no financial background, but I was like, okay, I'm going to figure this out. And I was able to do that. So I would say, you should, while it's okay to arrive, but you truly never really arrive, that you should always have a chip on your shoulder. And having that chip on my shoulders allowed me to go into areas in different industries and not care that I'm the least knowledgeable person in the room, because I trust myself most that I'm going to figure it out.
I want to talk about obviously this migration into business, and I did want to anecdotally share, coincidentally, I applied for Purdue as well, and I was accepted to become a Boilermaker.
Nice.
So the three of us would have had that in common.
Wow.
I ended up going up north to Syracuse and became an Orange.
Oh, man.
And I wish we had you on our football team. But I have an affinity and affection for Purdue, and I want to talk about that because you mentioned Drew Brees, and obviously a huge influence on you. Drew Brees in the NFL football community had an incredible reputation for his work ethic, being a 6-footer, kind of an underachiever, not have the stats and the DNA initially, but he had this incredible work ethic where he would go hours before the game would start and even after the game was over. And I'm sure you've got a lot of stories about that, but it seems like there was obviously an influence there and that work ethic, because you mentioned earlier, Akin, about that sort of that grit and that determination and that work ethic, and then meeting sort of the pinnacle of that work ethic, Drew Brees, and then that influence on you. Talk about that grit, that determination, work ethic as it applies to business, because you went into becoming an entrepreneur. You've got this wonderful business career now. So talk about that determination and that ethic that's part of your DNA today.
Yeah. It's really a set of habits that you build, and you realize how, I used the analogy before, input, output. And, one of the first things I learned at Purdue, that I was never going to be an engineer. My brain just
you and me both
just does not work like that. But the thing that I took from my initial thought of being an engineer or engineering class is the whole input-output aspect. And I summarize it as just what habits that you develop, that you perfect, you create. It's a sum of who you are. And in my field now, when I do recruit, when I am recruiting, I'm looking for sales consultants or service consultants. I look for a lot of those traits, and I'm just paying attention to their habits. And the stories in my interview style is very casual, and so it's really about them allowing me to them sharing their stories, and then I'm just listening to what habits are they articulating and communicating. Our time at Purdue really forged who I became in the business world. Most don't realize that that really sports is a microcosm of life. Everything about a profession that you are required, and that's all you do, the discipline that you put into every single day is the same discipline that you would put into if you worked in a corporate, if you were an engineer, you were a boilermaker, if you were a script writer. To be great at it, there has to be a set of discipline that you have to adapt. Because most people only give part of themselves and not their whole selves. And to be at Purdue, to win all those games, to play against the GOAT, Tom Brady, who was at Michigan at the time, and we beat, we were down, I think, 21 points in the first half, come back second half, win with a field goal. To have that belief and to know that you put in the time ahead of time, requires a set of discipline. And so I think one of the things that I have always been comfortable with, and this is what gives me the confidence to walk into any room or gives me confidence to divert from one lane into a next, is those set of habits. Because I know that if I just continue with, I'm an early bird. I get up, I'm the first person who gets up in my house. I'm a 4:45, 5 a.m. guy. I work out 3-4 days a week now. Not as intense, but I still do something. I have to sweat. I'm a breakfast guy. I eat breakfast before 7:15 a.m., and I don't eat dinner. I eat dinner no later than 6:30 unless it's a weekend and I'm doing a date night with the missus. Those habits there allow me to have the energy and the endurance through the day. It's those same habits that I use through the course of my career. Every single game that I played with, I was well prepared when it comes to my nutrition and my sleep habits, right? I went out, but I was always able to knew what time I had to be in bed to get enough rest, to get up the next day for a game and to think clearly. When it comes to studying, I set I created this, my first 3 semesters at Purdue, I had 21, 22, and 21 hours. Not because I'm smart in any way, but I was disciplined about my schedule and my time management. It's that same time management, and my calendar now is color-coded. I know what time my meetings, my internal meetings are first in the morning, and that's my yellow. My red, my lunch, and whether it's a prospect meeting, a COI meeting, or team meeting, are green. And then my work day, as far as catching up on emails, diving into more strategy stuff, is my red meetings, and that's the third half of the day. So I have these set of habits that I created from way back in the day from sports that I take into the world now that has allowed me to have the steady growth and not the fluctuations of, it's just a steady growth habits that I believe that gives you the level of success that you envision. And if you just continue to churn at it, and that flywheel, all of a sudden you see it accelerate, and you'll gain and get to those goals quicker.
So Akin's calendar looks like a Christmas tree with all the lights, kind of like mine.
Pretty reds and
I got a lot more lights on mine. I got a lot of colors. I got to follow your plan.
There's blue in there as well.
Okay, good blue. So incredible story through your childhood into your early adult years. Incredible story with your professional athletic career, and now you're in this. A new life with corporate America. You're heavily engaged in a lot of community-based organizations, Junior Achievement being, I know one that you're a huge influencer in and admire that. If you a lot of our audience, they're really interested in what's going on around innovation, technology, entrepreneurship here in the South Florida ecosystem that just continues to grow. And there's a reason that you're in South Florida and continue to stay in South Florida. From your perception and everything that you do in the community, what do you think is going on in this ecosystem where it's maturing, it's doing something, and it's not just sunshine cruises and beaches as we were talking with an earlier guest. It's a lot more than that now. But what are you seeing, and where are we going?
Yeah, and I think this is what's most interesting about South Florida. South Florida, like you said, has always been known for a set of tourism, right? And that's really was the thing. Spring breakers or cruises. And now we're realizing that there's a more diverse thought and in business that really allows people to thrive and have the lifestyle that they really want. Fort Lauderdale now is actually caught up with South, Miami and that. And to know that they're, in my industry being in insurance consulting, risk management, we're agnostic, so we see it all. And we understand that there is an opportunity here where South Florida as a whole, or Florida as a whole now, has become comparable to other cities that are thriving and have this ecosystem of whether it's culture, whether it's tourism, whether it's technology, whether it's distribution, manufacturing. You're seeing it all at the same time start to develop and grow. And it's exciting. It's exciting because it's really allowed a pocket of people to live in an environment that's not just about sun and beaches, but really about business opportunities and growth. So, we're seeing it all. And I think that's the cool thing of being in South Florida at this time. 10 years ago is a bit different. You had your sports has always been part of South Florida. We knew that. And so you had your pocket of that. But you didn't see the corporations really wanting to divert and really be in this state or even in this area. But now you're seeing that the pieces of what a business needs to thrive, the infrastructures, right, and the community participation involvement, you're seeing that the business mind is there now. Whereas I think 10 years ago, it was in its infancies and people still weren't sure. So we're seeing that now.
You're incredibly well-traveled. We were talking earlier, you've been in 5 continents. You've obviously tremendous amount of culture, and that diversity and so forth. What have you seen in common from those that are looking to be really good at something? Obviously, you've had an incredible career at sports, your business career now. What's the commonality as throughout your travels that you're seeing from different cultures of people that are looking for success? Can you share some any ideas with that?
Yeah. I think what travel has definitely done for me, I grew up in the city and then moved to the suburbs of Dallas, 15 minutes from downtown. And what college, going to the Midwest from the South, and then going from college to then going to the pros and then having the means to explore, what that has allowed me now more so, especially as a leader, is to know and understand and respect people. People. Your greatest asset is your people and the people you choose, because it's a conscious choice, you choose to grow with. Going to, I've been to China, I've been all over Europe and 7, 8 countries in Africa. And if you see those who are successful and their linkage to those who, whether at the C-suite level, but their ability to be relatable and connect back down to the field is really the most important thing. My leadership style is I'm willing to do the work that, I may not know, but I want to learn with you. I know that, especially in this industry that I'm in now, there's certain technical aspects of it. I just haven't had enough time in it. So why would I fake the funk versus just hiring the right person or getting into the weeds with them, and that way there's a level of respect there. So that's my number one thing. If there's anything that you can take from this, is the importance of connecting with people more than anything. And as a leader, for you to really have a successful business, if you don't have the right people and if you're not connected to them, if they don't feel like you care, it means nothing. And you're going to have a revolving door, and your retention will be low.
I'm glad that you brought that up, because I remember many years ago, and when I was doing my PhD in the United Kingdom, Richard Branson was a hero of mine. I wrote him a letter every single week from the time that I was about 14, and he never, ever answered me. And then one day, when I was living in Cardiff, Wales, I actually got a letter from him inviting me to his office. Consequently, he reviewed my PhD. And Virgin Atlantic was a big brand all over the world, but he went out publicly and said the number one asset that we have are the people. And it was controversy, because how? No, it's always your customer. And he said, no, it's my people. And it was really interesting to go into the DNA of what that is. And what you just shared is very special. So we're at that time of the show right now where I like to throw what I call the Rubik's Cube. So I'm not going to ask you to solve the equation of the Rubik's Cube, because that may or may not happen.
Work on that together, my friend.
But I'm going to ask you a question, and my goal is to stump you. And I've stumped 95% of everybody who's been on the show. I failed earlier with another guest, but it was too much of a low ball question. But you've lived a pretty public life most of your professional career, and now you're very active in the community here in South Florida and still very public. What's the one thing about you privately that you're willing to share that nobody knows about you, that people should know about you?
I'm actually an introvert.
Yeah?
Yeah.
We would never have guessed that, honestly.
I am actually an introvert. Every sports field I've ever played, I've been a captain. So I've essentially been a spokesperson for our team. In the roles that I've been in professionally, business, corporate, or even being an entrepreneur, I've had to lead. But my most natural state is to be on my own. That's part of golf. I can play golf on my own. It's to be on my own, to be in a setting where I'm most comfortable in, and just be. If I don't have to talk, I don't talk. And so I'm actually an introvert.
So I just got a little quick golf story in there. So I invited Akin to participate in a golf outing, and I know he had another thing going on in the community, and he came and he showed up on a golf cart on like hole 5 or something, and we've been working all morning, right? And it was one of the worst days I've ever had in golf. So I just hope he still to this day doesn't judge me for my poor performance that day. But no warm up, no nothing. Shows up on a golf cart. We're at the getting ready to drive. He just picks up a club, and he just does like this. It doesn't even move. And the golf ball went like 400 yards right down the center of the fairway. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. And that's why he was in the NFL and I wasn't. So, but multi-talented, of course.
There's a story behind that.
Oh?
There's a story behind that. So from 2012 to 2016, 2017, I had a wealth management private equity firm in Princeton, New Jersey. I lived in South Florida in Dallas and had this firm in New Jersey with my partners. And so I did this triangular trip. I was on the road at least 2.5, maybe 3 weeks. I did this for a good 4 or 5 years. I picked up golf through the latter years of football and hated it. Just was like, oh, this is an athletic sport. This is just terrible. I couldn't figure it out. But I needed something to do. And the last time I played basketball, someone elbowed me. I had to go to the hospital and get stitches right here. And so I needed something to do. So I'm going to give this golf thing a try. Was just awful. On the last hole, I hit it perfect right down the pipe. And I was like, okay, I got to figure this out. So for 4 years, I traveled everywhere I went with my golf clubs. And whether I had a presentation or whether I had an event, I would either get to my destination a day early or I would leave my destination a day later just so that I either practice or I could play 9 or 18 holes. I did that for at least 4 or 5 days for 4 years. And so I got to the point where, not really having to warm up or just knew my body. And then I got lessons in between that as well. And so, it was just one of those that I'm not, I did get my handicap down at one point to about a 6. I'm in double digits now, just because I don't play as much anymore. But that was really the reason why.
I thought he was some kind of a Jedi. He could move that ball without doing anything. I tell my friends about that story occasionally, my golf friends. I'm like, anyway, but that's incredible.
I shared a golf story of Force Mate some with Lawrence Taylor, famous football player and Lawrence, an avid golfer in his post-career. And on the first hole, he and there was a crowd gathered around him. I was one of them, fortunately. He hit the ball about 400 yards the wrong direction. But we were still incredibly amazed at that golf ball going and kept going. And so I know you're doing this. You have this business career going on now with Gallagher Insurance. What's your role there? What are you doing there? And then I want to get you to talk about, being a motivational speaker, and then how do people reach you to have you not only obviously, and thank you for speaking on the podcast today, but speaking at events and so forth.
Yeah, so I'll simplify my role. My role solely is to remove all distractions, any obstacle, and find all the resources within our organization or externally for my team members. Simply as that. As a leader, part of the challenge is having your team work efficiently and providing those resources or removing the distractions. And I understand that we are as best when we're focused, laser focused, and able to use our talents and our gifts. And in that, every now and then I jump in as executive sponsor. Like I said, I'm not shy to get into the weeds with our team, and so I present with them. Every month we do a branch meeting, so we're catching up. But we also, I have one-on-ones with each team member. But solely, we are an organization that's one of the largest globally, like the third or fourth largest globally. And our sole goal is to have our clients make confident decisions about their business through the channels of insurance and risk management and all of that. But solely, my role is focused on South Florida. I oversee our Miami-Dade, Broward County, Palm Beach County, some of Hillsborough and Collier County team members, and I'm having a good time doing that. We have a fun crew who are passionate about what they do. I mean, solely passionate. And one of my pivots into this industry, as I was learning about the industry, because I didn't know much of it, but I wanted to slow down for my 3 weeks on the road because I was getting married and I knew I was going to have a family right off the bat, and I got pulled into the industry and automatically just loved it because it was about people. It was about healthcare and solving and having people have more control and less stress. And the different mechanisms that I use to do that is just solely that. And so I love it. Yeah.
And how do people get a hold of you, Akin? If they want to reach you for motivational speaking or...
for motivational speaking, you can email me. My email, I'm trying to think, which one should I give? No, you can email me at a_akin@me.com. So you can email me, but I'm easy to find. I have Instagram.
LinkedIn.
Yeah, I'm active on LinkedIn, Instagram. My name, what is it? Oh, The Akin Project. THE.
I like that. Yeah.
The Akin Project, and then Twitter. I'm all that. You can Google. I'm Googleable, I guess I can say.
Well, thank you for a lot of the work that you do and paying it forward too, as John mentioned earlier. So, and thank you for the work in the community, the support, and I very much appreciate your time and being on the podcast today.
No, thank you for having me. I know John and I have talked about this, but I appreciate the time. I love the setup, and I love the candidness in the conversation. So this was really good.
Thanks, Akin.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Remember to subscribe, like, and share the Sunshine Startups Live podcast, and follow us on social media. If you're interested in sponsoring or appearing on the show, please email us at booking@sunshinestartups.live.